What's going on, Nitro Gang? This is a vintage Traxxas T-maxx. I date this model back to around the year 2000. I got a question for you. Do you got cash? And do you want to see me fire this up in this video?
Guess what? I finally scored some toilet paper.
Well, why don't we take the cash out? Then we're gonna fire this one up.
Traxxas is home of the original Maxx truck line, the best-selling, most popular radio-controlled hobby models of all time. Once you see a Maxx truck run, you'll know why it's the gold standard by which all others are judged.
Well guys, it's about time to fire this up. I'm going to go get my electronics, gonna put some nitro fuel in there. I'm going to keep this simple. The goal is just to fire up this engine, see if it has enough of a vacuum, if anything leaks. Now usually these old engines, they tend to kind of have a bit of an idle problem, usually due to some sort of air leak. I sure hope this one does not have it. Let's fire up the T-maxx. We're gonna test out how this thing runs. The first time it's been fired up in, well, over 20 years at this point. Electronics, they're okay. Throttle servo works. The reverse also works. I have some fuel in the system. I'll pass the annoying, boring parts. Let's see what happens. I have it, you know, kind of on a, well, something I use for gardening, right? Wheels are off the ground because these trucks have like the sickening clack transmission. You guys will see what I mean when it begins to engage. It's not like a regular 3.3, it's an older style transmission. There's cogs that engage at a certain RPM in the trans, and it makes it seem like it's stuttering, but that actually is just quite normal. So I'm going to use the glow driver, but this does have the electric start wire. Great start. You guys see that start? Whoa, it's about to slide off. Well, it's running. It's running, guys, so far. The idle seems okay. That is normal that you see it spinning. I'm doing a little test here. I want to know whether the engine will be able to idle normally. Okay. Weird. It just shut off on its own right there. It just shut down. Let me touch the engine. The tune seems to be okay. It's not very hot. Let's fire it up again. Raise the throttle trim. Alright, I raise the throttle trim a little. Weird. As it's running, it just seems to kind of go down there and idle and shut down. I wonder if we have a vacuum leak. Well, we're gonna fire it up again. I think when the engine warms up, it'll be fairly obvious whether we have a vacuum leak or not. Weird, now it's having a hard time firing up. I'm going to raise the throttle trim a little more. Whoa, that's the sickening engagement of the trans. Well, it's running. Remove the glow driver. I have to shut it down. I try to show to you guys as much as I can. There's a drop of fuel leaking from the bottom of where the front bearing is on the crankcase over there. That is literally unburned fuel directly from the bottom of the crankcase. Well, that explains the situation. That explains why it seems to speed up and then just shut down, because we have ourselves a massive leak. It looks like right over there from the crankshaft bearing. The pure irony is the only two parts I didn't check when putting this engine back together was the carburetor seal, and it appears that the carb seal is quite good, and I did not remove the flywheel. Oh man, that is why that entire blue chassis right there, it is saturated with fuel. You guys see that as I get close? That definitely, let me get a closer look here. Definitely does not look like it's coming from the exhaust gasket. The weird part is we have really great compression. Now if I try to spin over this flywheel, it's really hard to spin it over. So we have very hard, very good compression. I'm thinking, is it possible over the 20 years that this engine hasn't run, that the front bearing on the crankcase there in the front has deteriorated to the point where it is actually passing unburned nitro fuel down, which also means that there is a good amount of air somehow escaping, or maybe getting in. I don't know, but I don't see any other signs of leaks anywhere. If I get close to where the fuel tank is mounted, the bottom of the chassis there, guys, it looks dry. Nothing there. Let me spin this truck around. We'll take a look right under the fuel tank. Yeah, the fuel tank on the bottom, there's definitely no leaks. It seems dry. Damn it. We have ourselves an engine problem. Let me give you the background and history on how I wound up getting this awesome truck with, you know, a giant aluminum front bumper over here. I bought this during a Nitrogang live stream. The engine was completely seized. This is all I got with the truck. There was no radio included, nothing. What you see here is the way this truck would have been in the year 2000, well, without the optional upgrades. Let's take the body off. I'll tell you guys what's been going on so far, because it's taken me, well, it's taken me a very long time to repair this. The engine was completely seized. This was repaired during a Nitrogang live video, so if you want to check that out, I disassembled it, put it back together, oiled it up. The original Traxxas 2018 servo was locked up. I've replaced it since. This particular truck has very tasteful upgrades for the time period. We have a nice period correct dynamite tuned pipe, aluminum, with a high flow anodized header. Motor saver air filter that still needs a little bit of an element inside. And the star of the show, in terms of originality at least, is this easy start Traxxas Pro 15 engine. These were quite adequate for the time period. They were 2-needle carbs, considering most HPIs at the time, unless you got an upgraded SS engine, let's say an 18SS or a 15SS, they would have had a single needle high-speed needle only. This one does have a low-speed needle on the other side. Another very important upgrade, we have an entire Robinson Racing spur gear with slipper set. I've seen these in magazines. They are very, very good. Otherwise, this truck is basically stock. I'm not really going to talk much about the aluminum. We have aluminum suspension arms in the front and also aluminum chassis braces. Personally, I'm not a big fan of aluminum, but whoever spent the money on this, well, I guess they spend the money on this, right? I will say one very important upgrade for the old school T-maxx is the aluminum bulkhead, and that is what holds the differential housing. Very, very important. They do also make RPM braces here for the front, but we don't have that. We do have a 2-speed. The clutch seems to work fine. I have also replaced the fuel tank. We had an issue with the cap itself. Otherwise, in the rear end, this truck is basically stock. Now, I'm going to try to keep this as original as possible. Originally, I thought the power switch needed to be replaced because when I removed the battery pack, there were batteries from about the year 2001. Of course, they all leaked out. They were quite bad, but Traxxas parts, they really didn't rust. I cleaned it up, put a little alcohol on it, swabbed it out, and put some new batteries in there. So now we're still running the original power switch, and we are running a 2.4 gigahertz receiver. Well, this is probably as nice of an original T-maxx from this generation, the first Pro 15 powered one that you guys will find. In fact, the shocks are still adequate, and the front suspension is also quite good. Luckily with Traxxas, there are tons of available and cheap parts to go around. You just have to know what part number you're looking for. I was able to easily find the blown up exploded parts views of the Pro 15 engine. As I zoom in here, can I zoom in? Oh, good thing I can zoom in. I would have had to edit that part out. These are the parts we need, 4023, which are the front bearing. You know, the rear bearing is the same, so 4023. Question is, can I find them online? Well, guys, of course I can. Take a look at that. $16. Traxxas 4023 crankshaft bearing set for the Pro 15. Now I went to A-Main and I took a look of all of the available in-stock Traxxas models. And you know what? Not only do they have parts, but they have many, many models available for pretty cheap prices. $334, get this Traxxas Nitro Rustler. You could hit 50 miles per hour and you can yell, one speed is all you need. If you have the need to look like you're short course racing, get the highly recommended Nitro Slash. But what we really want is a proper T-maxx. I know you want a T-maxx. Check it out. 3.3 in stock. This is significantly better than the one in this video. But you know what? The Traxxas T-maxx is one of the longest running names in the nitro hobby. And let's just hope they never discontinue it. Give this video a like. Let me know what you think I should do. Should I order up these bearings and try to replace them? Or should I go with an engine upgrade? If you smell what the Nitro Gang is cooking.
So fine, but her breath is like, whoa. She say she wanna dance, but she don't know how to.